Dear learners, today I am going to present before you Ramanuja's views on Jiva and the world. In our discussions, I have tried to cover certain basic points which I would like to present in this way. In this unit of Ramanuja's concept of Jiva and the world, we will explain the concept of Jiva or soul and the world. Explain the reality of the soul or Jiva in association with the world. Discuss about the relation between the soul or the Jiva and the world as co-parts of God or the Absolute. Further, we'll try to touch upon the difference between Ramanuja and Shankara about the status of the Jiva in the relation to the world. State about the three classes of Jiva or the soul. Explain the states of the soul or Jiva wandering in the world under the clutch of karma. Further, we'd like to state about Ramanuja's views on the causal theory of Satkaryavada, which is specific form of Parinamavada. Let us start our discussion. I have divided my discussions into two parts, part 1 and part 2. Ramanuja has given a unique explanation of the soul or the Jiva and the world and the relation between them in his Visishta Daitin or qualified monastic system. The relation between the soul or the Jiva and the world is clearly expressed by Ramanuja when he says that the soul or the Jiva and the matter or the world both are integral parts of God or Brahman. Hence, the soul and the material world both are eternal, real and unique. Ramanuja's views on this point are in contrast to the views of Advaita Vedantin Shankara. According to Shankara, the individual soul or the Jiva is Brahman, which is expressed by the words Jiva Brahman na Parah. That is, the individual is Brahman and nothing else. Like Shankara, the famous Upanishadic dictum Tat Tam Asi, that is, that thou art, does not signify metaphysical identity between Brahman or God and Jiva or the soul. The Jivas are the eternal parts of God as much as the world or matter, and in this sense are non-different from him. The soul and the world are expressions of the Absolute. Ramanuja clearly states that there exists an Absolute Self whom he calls God or the Brahman. But every finite reality, including the soul or the Jiva and the world or the matter, is an expression of this self. The Jiva or the soul and the matter or the world have a common bond of unity and interdependence, and this common bond is a spiritual principle. This makes possible, or it is because of this, that there is a reciprocal interaction among a plurality of existence. Next point is, Ramanuja stresses that the finitude is in the infinite. This means Ramanuja's explanation about the relation between the soul and the world, along with God as a common bond of spiritual principle, makes his system free from leading to a void. It is because of the peculiar relation between soul and the world as co-parts of God or the Absolute one can find in the ultimate reality called God determination, limitation, difference, other being, which is at the same time dissolved, contained and gathered together in the One. Thus, in Ramanuja, finitude is in the infinite itself. God or Brahman has internal difference, that is Swagata Veda, and is a synthetic whole, with souls and matter as his moments. This is called Siddha Sid Vishishta. Within the scope of his universal activity, the Jivas, who are essentially free spirits, though they draw all from God, yet possesses such spontaneity and choice that they deserve to be called persons. The individual soul, though a mode of the Supreme, is real, unique, eternal, endowed with intelligence and self-consciousness, without parts, unchanging, imperceptible, and they are atomic. It is different from the body, the senses, vital breath, and even buddhi. It is the knower, the agent, that is the karta, and the enjoyer, that is bhokta. The first association of the soul with the world is through the body, which it assumes on the basis of its past karmas. The soul is thus attached on the human plane to the gross body, the vital breath, which is an instrument. There are 5 sense organs of action and manas to play its role of action. Manas reveals to the soul the stage of inner being and, with the aid of the senses, conveys a knowledge of the outer stage of the world. So far as the seat of the soul or Jiva is concerned, Ramanuja makes it clear that the soul or the Jiva is atomic, since it is of the nature of consciousness. The atomic Jiva has its seat in the Rit Padma. In deep sleep, it rests in it. Sleep is not a breach of the continuity of the self. In spite of the atomic size of the Jiva, through its attributes of knowledge, it is able to feel pleasure and pain all over the body. Even as the flame of the lamp, though tiny in itself, illumines many things by means of its light and remote in time, such is the way in which the self-sustained self extends over all things of the world. However, its range to reach out the world is narrowed on account of defects such as past karma and the like. There are plurality of souls or the jivas. Until liberation, they are bound to Prakriti, which is the other name for the matter or the world, which serves as a vehicle, that is bahana, to the jiva, just as a horse does to the rider. The bondage to the soul obstructs the vision of the eternal and prevents the soul from recognizing its kinship with God. The soul is born many times into the sensible world, but the soul maintains its identity throughout and remains unchanged in its essential nature. Ramanuja says that the jivas or the souls are indestructible. At each pralaya or destruction of the world, the particular forms of the souls are destroyed, though the souls themselves are indestructible. They cannot escape the consequences of their past lives, and they are again thrust into the world at the new creation with appropriate endowments. Association with or dissociation from bodies is what is meant by birth and death, and until release, the souls are attached of necessity to bodies. The self cannot bear witness to its own past, since memory does not reach beyond the present embodiment. There are 3 classes of jivas. Firstly, number 1 is eternal, that is nitya, or those who dwell in Vaikuntha, enjoying bliss and free from karma and prakriti. Next is the freed or mukta, or those who achieve liberation through their wisdom, virtue and devotion. Next is the bound or baddha, or those who wander in samsara owing to their ignorance and selfishness. The souls wandering in the world or samsara have their own plight. While the soul can rise to the highest, it can sink to the lowest as well, becoming more and more immersed in the body till the life of the intelligence is lost in the obscure animal movements of sensation and appetite. The souls wandering in the world are distinguished into 4 classes. Number 1, celestial or superhuman, human, animal and stationary, that is Thavara. Next, the souls are essentially of one kind. Their distinctions are due to the bodies with which they are associated on the basis of karmas and sanskaras. So far as the sanskars of the souls or the jivas are concerned, it is further stated that the souls wandering in the world are grouped into those desirous of enjoyment and those desirous of deliverance. Until the soul or the jivas attains release, it has to be reborn to enjoy the fruits of karma. The soul or the jiva, when moving towards another embodiment, is enveloped by the rudiments of the elements which serve as the basis of life. Ramanuja holds that neither reason nor scripture can tell us how karma got the souls into its power, because the cosmic process is beginningless or anadi. Next we proceed to the second part of our discussion, that is about the world. So far we have seen that God, like man, has both soul and body, and all of the world of matter is the glory of God's body. Ramanuja's concept of the world creation is in consistence with the Upanishadic authority. Ramanuja holds that God, the omnipotent being, creates the manifold world out of himself by a gracious act of will. Brahman includes within himself the finite spirits, that is chit, and unconscious matter, that is achit. The achit, unconscious matter, is called prakriti, which is eternal. Thus chit is the source of the embodied souls or the jivas. So far we have seen that God, like man, has both soul and body, and all of the world of matter is the glory of God's body. About Prakriti, Ramanuja states that Prakriti or matter, Kala or time, and Suddha Tattva or pure matter are the 3 non-conscious substances comprising the world. They are objects of experience, that is bhogya, liable to changes and indifferent to the ends of man or the soul. The existence of Prakriti is not an object of perception or of inference. It is accepted on the authority of the scripture. Its 3 qualities of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas are evolved in it at the time of the world creation. Suddha Tattva, while Prakriti has the 3 gunas of Tattva, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, Suddha Tattva has only Sattva. It is the staff of the body of God in his condition of Nitya Vibhuti. It does not conceal the nature within. God reveals himself to the souls or the jivas as a cosmic force through his Lila Vibhuti with the aid of Prakriti, and in his transcendent existence through his Nitya Vibhuti with the aid of Suddha Tattva. All these non-conscious entities comprising the world work in obedience to the will of God. The world is not in itself good or bad, but happen to please or pain the souls or the jivas according to their karma. The world will appear to be essentially blissful to one who has freed himself from all bonds of karma and avidya. While both souls and matter constitute body or the attribute of God, He is, that is, God is, directly connected with the souls and only indirectly with matter, which is controlled by the souls or the jivas. The world, though a real entity, is more completely dependent on Brahman than the souls. Because the souls have freedom of choice, but the world does not have freedom of choice. That is the difference between the jivas as a conscious entity and the world or matter as an unconscious achit entity. This follows from the fact that the souls or the jivas are of the nature of consciousness, chit, whereas the world, since it is constituted of matter, is of the nature of unconsciousness, that is achit. The world serves as the field of action for the jivas or the souls, in which the souls can partake in the divine life and thus be lifted above change and death. From the above brief presentation of Ramanuja's views on the soul and the world, it may be further laid down that Ramanuja believes in the causal theory of Satkaryavada, that is, the effect pre-exists in the cause before its production. Satkaryavada is of two types, Parinamavada and Vivartavada. Vivartavada is the unreal appearance of the cause into the effect. Unlike Sankara, Ramanuja believes in the Parinamavada. Parinamavada means that the cause is really transformed into the effect. During the state of dissolution or pralaya, Brahman remains with pure matter, achit, and the soul or the jivas, chit, is in an unmanifested form. In this state, Brahman is said to be a causal condition, that is Karana Avastha or Karana Brahma. When creation takes place, the subtle matter becomes gross physical object and the souls or the jivas enter into embodied form corresponding to the merit or demerit of their past actions. This state is the state of effect, Karyavastha, and the Brahman is called the effect, that is Karya Brahman. The cause and the effect are in essence identical, and the world along with the souls or the jivas with their unique nature is the parinama of Brahman. Ramanuja holds that creation is absolutely real. The world and souls are as real as God Himself. They are neither created nor are they destroyed. The world of matter and the souls are real but not independent. They are dependent on God. Independence, according to Ramanuja, does not constitute the essence of reality. God is all-inclusive and includes the world and the souls or the jivas within Himself as His body, controlling them both from within. The world and the souls are different from each other and also different from God, though they are not external to God. Unlike the world, that is matter, the soul or the jiva is the knower, free agent and enjoyer, being the nature of consciousness. There are three classes or grades of jivas: free, liberated and bound. The chit part of Brahman is the source of jiva, and the achit part of Brahman is the source of the world, which is also called Prakriti. Ramanuja's concept of the world creation is in consistence with the Upanishads. Ramanuja believes in Satkaryavada as the causal theory. Consistently maintaining a theistic system, Ramanuja holds that the identity between God or soul taught by the Upanishads is not really an unqualified one. It is unthinkable that the soul who is finite can be identical with God in every respect. The soul as well as the world are not different from God in the sense that God pervades and controls the souls as well as the material world. What Ramanuja tries to make out is that Brahman never becomes in any way a self or the world, just as the world never becomes a part or a substance, never becomes an attribute. These are, in brief, the chief points of Ramanuja's Jivas and the world, as well as we have tried to touch upon a relation between the Jivas and the world with reference to God. We have seen that Ramanuja presents a very clear theistic system where the laws of nature established by God Himself is beautifully explored. The law of karma is one such law where God never interferes, and He gives freedom to the jivas or the souls, and in this way a beautiful interplay goes on the world in which the jivas play their part. Thank you so much.